Part 38. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 371. The disciples of several major sects had different thoughts when they heard the words of Mingxiu. Since the task has been completed, our Haoyu sect will take the lead. A disciple of Haoyu sect hugged the disciples of other sects. No matter what the heavenly secret palace wants to do, they have no intention of getting involved. Their Haoyu sect has suffered the most this time, and they are simply unable to continue their mission. The most important thing now is to bring the senior brother and the unconscious disciple back to the sect. Okay, be careful along the way. Mingxiu nodded lightly with a smile. After the disciples of the Haoyu sect left, the disciples of the other sects were also a little unable to stand. Han Yi has a more direct temperament, so he leaned over to Mingxiu and asked with a smile, "Brother Qi, do you want to stay here?" "Yes, our heavenly secret palace is not going to leave now." Mingxiu didn't deny it either. "Brother Qi, what are your plans? Why don't you tell us one or two?" Han Yi continued to ask, and the other disciples pricked up their ears to listen. Mingxiu looked in the direction of the ghost beast and said, "Although the leader of the demon cultivator has been killed by us, we don't know if there are other demon cultivators hiding in Luo Gai, and the ghost beast has escaped. I'm afraid of it. Continue to make trouble, and prepare to search for it and return to the section." "So that's the case. Since that's the case, it's not easy for us to leave. Let's check the news of the magic cultivator together." Han Yi pondered for a while before opening his mouth. "Okay." Mingxiu didn't refuse. Han Yi's reaction was what he expected. If the disciples of the sword sect did not leave, the disciples of the other sects were naturally not able to leave immediately, and they all expressed that they wanted to leave information for investigation. All the missing disciples of the 6 sects were rescued. This time, the remaining 5 sect disciples did not split up and searched together in the mountains. Lum Wen moved his gaze to the cliff at the top of the mountain, and saw that the sky above the cliff was shrouded in a layer of dark mist, and a chill emerged from the bottom of the cliff. She frowned and asked Jun Luokan in the pendant, "Do you know that Xianxia cliff? My main soul has been staying in the inheritance land before, and I don't know much about this interface." Jun Luokan paused and said, "However, the yin suffocation from the yin suffocating cliff is extremely strong, and it is a high-level one. It is difficult for even a demon cultivator to deeply cultivate in it. You'd better not make the idea of Xianxia cliff. Although you have spiritual fire, your cultivation base is too low. If you forcefully go to the bottom of the cliff, you may be lost by Xianxia." He added another sentence. Lum Wen chuckled and asked meaningfully, "Why do you think I'm trying to attack Xianxia? When has this woman ever lived in peace? Although the Xianxia cliff is very dangerous, there must be a lot of good things at the bottom of the cliff." Jun Luokan joked, "With your temperament, you can endure the present. Not going down is good enough." Lum Wen rolled his eyes, "You know me well." She really had this thought in her heart: there must be a lot of spirit grasses and spirit objects refining high-level medicinal herbs under the cliff in the place where the yin evil is deep. The most important thing is that if she uses Xianxia to infuse her body to temper her muscles and bones, her body will definitely be tougher, and it will be much easier to break through the bottleneck. It's just that with her current cultivation level, she really can't penetrate into the bottom of the Xianxia cliff, and this matter is still a long-term plan. "Aren't you really going to go?" Jun Luokan's voice was surprised. "Nonsense, but not now. Try it when I hit Jianzan," Lum Wen said indifferently. Jun Luokan twitched the corner of his mouth and said speechlessly, "You are a crazy woman. If there is no special method to resist the erosion of yin qi, even if the sword saint comes, it will be trapped in it." However, he remembered that he had seen a lot of Lum Wen's methods while staying in the pendant. Maybe she really had a way to go down to the bottom of the cliff. After all, this woman can't be seen by ordinary people. He touched the edge of his chin and lips in anticipation. If this woman really came to Xianxia cliff to search for spiritual grass, He could use the Xianxia here to completely transform the main soul into a ghost cultivator. Ming Xiu took the disciples of the 5 sects to search around the Xianxia cliff for 2 days and found no trace of the demon. Immediately, they inspected the other 2 mountains, and found that loose cultivators and mercenaries were still missing in the mountains, but the disciples of the 5 sects did not encounter the magic cultivators again, and they wanted to come to the other side to avoid them deliberately. 5 days later, countless colorful rays of light suddenly fell from the sky above the Luogui River, and a black light from the bottom of the shady cliff shot directly into the sky. The scene was spectacular. Anyone who was not far from the Luogui River discovered the vision. In a deep mountain, a man in black leaned against a big tree and closed his eyes. When the vision appeared, he immediately opened his eyes were like torches. Has it finally begun to conceive and give birth, he said to himself, and disappeared in place in an instant. On the only road not far from the Luogui River, a group of people were on their way, and they were overjoyed when they saw the countless rays of light falling from the sky. His Royal Highness, the obsidian will be born soon, a white-haired old man said to the man in blue in front. The blue-clothed man's deep eyes glowed with a deep blue light, and an arc was raised on his lips. The prediction ability of the national teacher is getting more and more accurate, and it is not in vain that this king has been lurking in this small interface for a few years. Old slave, congratulations to your highness. First, the white-clothed old man's cultivation base looks much higher than the blue-clothed man on the surface, but he is very respectful to him. The gentle face of the blue-clothed man did not change at all. This time I heard that the 6 major sects have sent many elite disciples to come to the mission, and a lot of magic cultivators lurking in the Tianling continent have also dispatched, and we are not going to snatch the luminous stone. I'm afraid it's that easy. The strength of the elite disciples of the 6 major sects and our party is very different. They are not our opponents. If those old guys come, they will be afraid of 1 or 2. The white-clothed old man continued indifferently, as for the hidden magic cultivator, there may be high-level hiding, but this interface can suppress the strength of our cultivation base, and at the same time, they can't escape, so I believe that the obsidian fluorite will eventually fall into His Highness's hands. The blue-clothed man had a determined smile on his lips. This king is only for the obsidian fluorite to project his avatar/body to this small interface. Naturally, failure is not allowed. He raised his eyes and looked at Luogui not far away. A strange feeling arose in his heart. The disciples of the 5 major sects had no idea that 2 waves of powerful enemies had rushed to Luogui River at this time, and they were all excited when they saw the vision. This kind of vision is a harbinger of the birth of spiritual beings, the leading disciple of Yaozong said with bright eyes. Han Yi had a look of interest. I didn't expect to stay for a few more days to check the news of the magic cultivator, and I would encounter this kind of good luck. I don't know why such a strong vision will appear when a spirit is born. Gu Xiu's eyes were full of anticipation. Lu Muan swept the expressions of the surrounding disciples, wondering if these people are so excited now, will they be shocked when Luogui encounters a large number of demon cultivators or other foreign forces competing for spiritual things, or if they will finally be among them. How many people are still alive? My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 372. The disciples of the 5 major sects were all excited, and they began to be wary of each other. After all, if any high-level spirits were born, the disciples of their 5 sects would definitely not be able to cooperate as harmoniously as they are now, and they will definitely fight for it. Brother Qi, do you think we should go to Luogui? Han Yi asked Ming Xiu for advice with a smile. Hearing Han Yi's question, the other disciples also looked at Ming Xiu. Although this mission is a joint mission of the 6 sects, the Tianji Palace is at the head of the 6 sects, and Ming Xiu is the most powerful existence among them, and everyone is vaguely dominated by him. Of course I'm going to go there, but there's one thing I need to make clear here. Ming Xiu's smile was very light. Yaozong's leading disciple asked, Brother Qi, please speak. When you arrive at Luagui River, if there is any spiritual thing born, everyone will snatch it on their own, and whoever grabs it will win, but they are not allowed to kill each other. Ming Xiu swept the leaders of the several sects present with a sharp gaze. Okay, the others replied without hesitation. What Ming Xiu said is exactly what the disciples of several sects thought. After all, there are really high-quality spiritual things born, and no one wants to give them to other sects. The smile on Lu Muan's lips was even stronger, which was very good. The group did not hesitate, and quickly rushed towards Luagui River. When they arrived at the Luagui River, they saw countless colorful clouds hanging above the dark river water. The transparent black mist that was born was entwined in layers. What kind of spiritual creature is this that actually triggers such a vision? Gu Xiu looked at the vision of the opposite river in surprise. Yeah. But don't you think it's strange? The leading disciple of the Imperial Beast sect said solemnly. What's so strange? Han Yi asked. The disciple of the Imperial Beast sect looked around and said, every time a spiritual thing is born, there will be no shortage of monsters to snatch wildly. At least there is a powerful monster guarding it, but now we don't see anything. Arrive. Everyone felt strange to hear him say this, wondering if this was not the birth of a spiritual thing. If they knew that there was already a ninth-order monster sleeping under the water, they wouldn't know if they would escape quickly. Mo Yan's light eyes flashed indifferently. Lu Muan touched his chin and said, the ninth-order monsters are full of treasures, but the monster crystals can make a lot of medicinal pills. Mia Meow's few spirit pets couldn't help their eyes light up when they heard this. There is a ninth-order monster king in this river, so even if there are spirits born, other monsters will not dare to step into his territory to compete with him, Ming Xiu said leisurely. The 6 sects were on a mission together, and he couldn't watch most of the people from other sects die, so he reminded him first. What? A ninth-order monster? The others were startled. You must know that the strength of the ninth-order monsters is comparable to that of the Sword Saints. The most important thing is that the ninth-order monsters can make their own magic weapons and practice monster arts. The combat power exerted by many monsters is comparable to the same level Sword Saint powerhouse is even better. Brother Qi, do you mean that there are no monsters gathered here, mainly because of the deterrent effect of the ninth-order monster under the water? Gu Xiu thought about it and asked. Ming Xiu nodded, yes, this water monster of Luagui River is the king here. Although he is still sleeping, no monster dares to set foot in his territory. There is only one way to wake him up. That ninth-order monster was sleeping while guarding spirits. Han Yi's expression changed again and again. If high-level spirits are discovered by monsters before they are born, they will stay where they are and not let other monsters have the opportunity to take them away. The level of spirits that can be guarded by ninth-order monsters is at least Earth level. It's a pity that their cultivation is too low. If they want to take food from the ninth-order monsters, it is impossible. The disciples of other sects also looked decadent, and the guardian monsters of the ninth order were not something they could match. How about we send a letter to the sect and let the elders of the Sword Saint level come over? The disciple of Yaozong suggested. Ming Xiu rolled his eyes, all right. Spiritual things are born in only one day at most, and it is useless to wait for the elders of the 5 major sects to come over, but it can distract the attention of those old guys. Hearing the approval of Ming Xiu, the disciples of the 5 sects immediately took out the teleportation talisman to stimulate. Then what do we do now? Han Yi asked. Wait, Ming Xiu said one word. Half a day later, countless colorful clouds fell on the Luagui River, and dozens of black lights shot directly into the sky. The spirit is about to be born. The disciples of several major sects all stood up and looked not far away. Suddenly, a group of men in black came out from the forest on one side, led by the man Lu Muan and the others met last time. Just because you want to compete for the luminous fluorite, the black-clothed man in the lead had a stern face, and his whole person exuded a chilling aura. Although his aura was restrained, he could still feel that powerful aura. Juggernaut powerhouse. The disciples of the five major sects couldn't help taking a deep breath in their hearts. Gu Xiu's dignified expression turned his head to Lum Wen and the others through a voice transmission. This demon cultivator is a high-level swordsman, run away when you see the opportunity. Jins and several people responded one after another. The high-level juggernaut is not an existence that they can shake, and they can kill them all with one move. Lum Wen squinted his eyes and transmitted a voice to Mo Yan. It seems that we will need to use a secret technique to deal with what happens next. She has the ability to fight beyond the ranks. She is now a high-level sword section. It is not a big problem to use all her strength to kill the strong swordsman at the peak level, but if she is against the juggernaut, she will only be completely beaten. Of course, it is still possible to escape in the hands of the juggernaut, and with her current strength, she can only do this. If you use Mo Yan's secret technique, you can barely fight the juggernaut. Your Excellency is Shen Mufeng. Ming Xiu looked at the man in black with his golden sword in his arms, and did not show a look of horror like the other disciples. The man in black casually raised his head and said, "How did you know? Your Excellency is ranked 10th on the most wanted orders from the 6 major sections. As long as the disciples who have taken the quest to kill you can see your portrait," Ming Xiu pointedly said. Shen Mufeng raised his eyebrows. "So you've already accepted the task of chasing and killing me?" "Yes, your head is worth 100,000 sect contribution points, I will not miss it." Ming Xiu's thin lips parted lightly, his face indifferent. Others looked at him in surprise when they heard what Ming Xiu said, wondering if he was taking the wrong medicine. He is a good swordsman, and I heard that he has the ability to challenge the level. The semi-sage who was killed by him before is an example, but the one standing opposite is the magician of the high-level swordsman. If it was so easy to kill, the 6 major sects would not have ranked him as the 10th person in the pursuit and killing order. But is Ming Xiu a fool or taking the wrong medicine? Obviously not possible. It seems that they all underestimated the strength of this genius disciple of the first person in the Palace of Heavenly Secrets. This is what the disciples of the 6 major sects thought. Ha ha. A melodious male voice suddenly sounded from behind. "It seems that I'm not too late, I just caught up with this good show. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 373. Hearing this gentle male voice, everyone looked behind. I saw a handsome and warm-looking young man walking towards him with a team of people. He was wearing a blue robe, which made him look more elegant and tall. His whole person has a gentle feeling like a spring breeze, and it is easy for people to only care about his temperament and ignore his cultivation. As soon as Lum Wen turned around, he met the other's pair of blue eyes, which were deep and clear, like they were carved from the best spar in the world. Lance, although the other party had changed a lot in both his temperament and appearance, she still recognized him at a glance. Lance saw Lum Wen was wearing a red coat and wrapped her beautiful figure, still with the elegance of the purple clothes, and a little more heroic feeling. "Little Yan'er, I didn't expect us to meet again." Lan Si didn't show any surprise that Lum Wen was a disciple of the 8 Extreme sect, and he knew her information well. Lum Wen frowned slightly. "I'm not that familiar with you." She knew that Lance's gentle and elegant skin was definitely a disguise, and his identity was not simple from beginning to end, and now it seemed that she had guessed correctly. "We went to the extreme cold mountain range to participate in the trial together. Why did you turn around and become so alienated from me? It really hurts my heart." Lan Sijunya's face was full of grievances, as if she had been abandoned little daughter-in-law. Lum Wen gave him a blank look without replying, so she didn't bother to care about the fox. The people behind Lance twitched their mouths in astonishment. They had never seen His Highness get along with that woman before. What? The Sea clan also wants to share a piece of the pie, Shen Mufeng's face became a little gloomy when he saw Lance bringing someone. If it was just a cultivator, he would still be sure to kill him and grab the obsidian, but if it was added to the group of the Shanghai people, it would be a big problem. When Gu Xiu and the others heard Shen Mufeng mention the word Sea Clan, their expressions changed instantly. There is a sea kingdom in the northernmost sea area of Tianling continent. There is the world of the Sea Clan. The Sea Clan is very strong, and it will fight with human swordsmen every 100 years. They obviously did not expect that the people of the Sea Clan who were 108,000 miles away would come to Luogui River. They guessed that the spiritual things in the Luogui River could not be only at the earth level, but most likely at the heaven level, otherwise the sword saints of the demons and seas would not come here on purpose. Gu Xiu walked to Lum Wen and asked in a low voice, "Do you know the sword saint of the Sea Clan?" "I know, he used to be a tutor in the Imperial College of Yanzhou Kingdom." "I didn't expect him to be a member of the Sea Clan." Lum Wen frowned deeply. She used to think that Lance had an extraordinary origin, and that his cultivation was deliberately sealed by him, but she never thought that he would be a member of the Sea Clan. The most important thing is that he has not seen each other for 2 years. Lance's cultivation has reached the peak of Juggernaut. There are also 2 Juggernauts and 5 Sword Masters in a group of Sea Clan behind him. Got tricky. It turns out that the little beauty and the people of the Sea Clan have a very close relationship. Shen Mufeng outlined a smile on his stern face, looked at Lum Wen and said, "I said before that I look forward to meeting next time, but I didn't expect us to see each other so soon." Lum Wen glanced at Shen Mufeng coldly. Is this dead man trying to provoke the relationship between her and the disciples of the 5 major sects? What does it mean that she has a close relationship with the people of the Sea Clan? What do you mean by looking forward to the next meeting? Does this make it clear that she is colluding with the Sea Clan and the Demon Clan? Yeah. I've been looking forward to seeing you too. She smiled sweetly, but there was no warmth in her eyes and continued, "You are worth the contribution of 100,000 sections. If I kill you, there will be no shortage of resources when I go back." Practice. Shen Mufeng was stunned for a moment, then laughed loudly, "Okay. Since my life is so valuable, if you have the ability, feel free to take it." Tisk tisk, Xiao Yaner originally lacked the contribution value of the sect. Lan Si walked lightly in front of Lum Wen, put his face close and said, "Would you like me to kill him for you?" Lum Wen glanced at Lance coldly. A golden light emerged from her sleeve, and Lance's pupils shrank and dodged quickly. Boom, a big tree behind him was immediately split in half by the golden light. "Stay away from me," Lum Wen said in disgust. Seeing a slender golden needle returning to her sleeve, Lance squinted his eyes. "Xiao Yaner is really cruel. If I take a step away, I will also become your dead soul under the needle." "Stop talking nonsense, talk about your purpose." Lum Wen rolled his eyes at him. Lance chuckled, "We naturally came for the obsidian. Shen Mufeng is also here for Yao Yingxi. Can you beat him?" Lum Wen blinked her eyes and said, "If the disciples of our 5 sects are not strong enough, we will not join forces. You guys can play slowly. The obsidian is about to be born. I don't know that your side will get the first. It's really enviable." She glanced at the 2 and added. Ming Xiu's eyes as deep as the sea swept across the coldness when he swept towards Lancy. Is the projection of the South Sea King of the 4 Seas clone/avatar? He saw the deep interest in Lum Wen in Lance's eyes, and a killing intent rose in his heart. What about the avatar/body of the South Sea King? If he dares to covet his woman, he will let Lance know that there are some people he doesn't care about. "Little Yaner, your provocation is too obvious. If you want us to lose both sides, do you fishermen benefit?" Lance knew Lum Wen's temperament very well, and the little fox wanted to do something bad again. Lum Wen looked at him with a look of truth on his face and said, "That's true, so are you going to fight? Could it be that you want to cooperate to divide up the fluorite? Actually, this idea is not bad for you. The disciples of the 6 major sects couldn't help but twitch their eyelids when they heard her make an idea for the 2 of them. In the end, she was standing there. If the juggernauts of the demon race and the sea race really join forces and finally divide the fluorite, wouldn't they be in danger? Shen Mufeng and Lan Si looked at the smiling Lum Wen and couldn't help twitching the corners of their mouths. She must have said this because she knew it was impossible for them to cooperate. We Demon Clan and Sea Clan have always been at odds with each other, so let's just cooperate, Shen Mufeng continued, but little beauty, it's impossible for you to profit from the fishermen. Then you can fight first, don't worry about us, Lum Wen urged. After the fight, you will naturally be eligible to compete for the obsidian fluorite. Both the Sea Clan and the Demon Clan want to swallow the luminous fluorite alone, so it is inevitable to fight. Now both sides have strong swordsman level. She and Mingxiu belong to the disadvantaged group, of course, they must hit the last shot. Lance and Shen Mufeng are very afraid of each other. Both of them are avatars projected on this interface. Even if Lance is even better, they can fight well. They had no choice but to fight for the sake of the obsidian. They lurked to this small interface for the sake of the obsidian, and naturally no mistakes were allowed. Lance, do you dare to fight me? Shen Mufeng raised his eyebrows and asked. Why don't you dare? Let me learn the tricks of the holy son of the demon race today. Lance fought with high spirits. The demon race and the sea race confronted each other, and they both wanted to kill the other side first, and then swallowed the obsidian fluorite for a while. And Lum Wen and other disciples of the 6 major sects were completely ignored by them, and they would not pay attention to a group of disciples with sword sovereign cultivation. Seeing the quick fight between the 2 sides, the disciples of the 5 major sects were dumbfounded, and the 2 teams really listened to Lum Wen's challenge. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 374. In addition to Shen Mufeng, Mo Xiu also hides 3 sword saints. At this time, when the sword saints of the Sea Clan are besieged, they can't help but quickly show up to resist. The 2 sides immediately formed a battle, and Shen Mufeng and Lan Si carried the power of destroying the sky and destroying the earth in every move. The 2 slashed at each other, and the top of the mountain on the side was cut in half. Pen Yang looked at the surrounding battlefield in shock and said to Gu Xiu, they actually started fighting because of what junior sister Lu said. Lum Wen glanced at him and said, it's not that they listened to my words and started fighting, and they are bound to have this fight, just because my words were ahead of schedule. If she hadn't just asked to let Shen Mufeng and Lan Si compete for the initiative before the birth of the obsidian, they would probably have to wait until the real birth of the obsidian. No matter what, it would be in their best interest to count the death of one of the 2 powerhouses. Puff. The 2 sides fought because their cultivation was too strong, and any few sword chi could spread to the disciples of the 5 sections. Some of the weaker disciples couldn't help spitting blood after being shocked. Brother Chi, what should we do now? Han Yi pursed his lips and looked at Mingxiu. At this time, the disciples of the 5 sects pinned their hopes on Mingxiu, otherwise, if they just stood here and didn't move, they were afraid that their lives would be affected. Mingxiu didn't want the disciples of the 5 sects to suffer here, so he quickly took out a set of array flags and moved them to an open space far away from Luogui River and quickly arranged them. Then he waved his hand, and thousands of low-grade spirit stones fell into the soil around the formation. His hands were constantly changing, and countless transparent sigils flew out of his palms and got into the formation. Get up, he whispered, and a solid defensive formation was successfully constructed. You all hide in the formation, Mingxiu said to the disciples of several sects after arranging the formation. At this time, among the disciples of the 5 sects, even the leaders of Gu Xiu were affected a lot. Their hearts and lungs were severely squeezed by the might of the sword saint, and they quickly swept into the formation. Verb, move. After all the disciples of the 5 sects entered the formation, Mingxiu recited a few words, and a golden formation flag spun up and slowly unfolded in the air. A layer of soft golden light fell into the formation little by little, and the transparent runes and golden light merged to form an indestructible mask. This is a 5-level highest grade defensive formation. Even if the Sword Saint powerhouse uses a full strength attack, it will take 3 days to blast away, so it is more than enough to resist the aftermath of the battle between the Sword Saints. Junior Sister Lu, why are you still standing there? Come in quickly. After Jin Se entered the battle, he found Lu Muan still far away, and shouted eagerly. Gu Xiu and the others also looked at her anxiously and said, Junior Sister Lu, come in quickly. Lu Muan heard the voices of several people, turned around and saw the anxious expressions of several people, and a hint of warmth rose in her heart. She smiled and said, I won't come in if I have something else to do. You're crazy. We can't resist the remnants of the Sword Saints battle, come in quickly. Gu Xiu's face was cold and stern. In his eyes, Lu Muan was just a joke. Ming Xiu chuckled, Junior Sister Lu is standing there unscathed now, proving that she is not afraid of the aftermath of the battle of the Sword Saint powerhouse, so Brother Gu doesn't need to worry. Now is not the time to expose his relationship with Lu Muan, so they pretend not to be very familiar with each other. Well, brothers and sisters, don't worry, I know what I have in mind. Lu Muan turned on the Yuan Li shield and said to several people calmly. A few people don't have deep friendship with her, but from their recent interactions, they also know that this junior sister's temperament looks gentle on the surface, but she is actually very strong and indifferent, and no one can change her decision. Then be careful, come in quickly if something happens, Gu Xiu said with a little worry. He himself admired Lu Muan. Her talent and temperament were so extraordinary that he even had to admire him as a man of honor. She had already become a 5th-level formation mage before she was 20 years old. Among the 6 major sects, she was afraid that only a cultivator could achieve such talent, and he also had the heart of love. Another point is that Lu Muan is a genius disciple that the sect master and several elders attach great importance to. If they are damaged here, they will not be able to explain it when they go back. Okay, Lu Muan nodded, then turned his attention to the battle between Lan Si and Shen Mufeng. The 5 disciples who entered the formation saw Lu Muan jumped onto a big tree and leaned on the tree trunk with his arms in his arms, calmly watching the battle in the distance, and could not help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Why would they, whose cultivation base was higher than her, be affected by the battle between the Sword Saints and were deeply hurt so badly, while she was unscathed? There are only 2 possibilities. One is that her cultivation base is not high but her strength has far surpassed them, and the other is that she has a high-level defense-type holy treasure on her body, so she is not afraid of the impact of the battle of the Sword Saint. In both cases, they automatically choose to believe the latter. After all, Lu Muan has only been in the sect for a year, and only Jianzong has cultivated. They knew that Lu Muan was very strong, but they never thought that she could surpass all their disciples present. She stared at the 2 people in front of her, and the other disciples quickly returned to their eyes and turned their attention to the swordsmen in the battle. They benefited a lot from being able to watch the battle between the juggernauts at close range. They were scared and worried about their lives and didn't have the heart to watch it carefully. Now that they are protected by the meditation formation, they are also much more relaxed to watch. Ming Xiu looked at the 2 who were fighting indifferently, estimating the time in his heart. Suddenly, one after another water columns spewed up from the Luogui River, dissipating all the water mist curling around the river. Shen Mufeng was hit in the chest by Lan Si's sword at this time, and a scar that was opened with flesh and blood was revealed. Ossidian fluorite was born. He ignored the wound on his body and threw a handful of black powder on Lance, turning it into a black light and rushing into the Luogui River. Lan Si squinted his eyes, flipped his palm, and a cluster of ice blue flames burned the black powder into black smoke along the river. He didn't hesitate, and plunged into the Luogui River closely behind him. At this time, after the battle just now, the powerhouses of the Sea clan and the Demon clan both lost their own, and even both sides lost a Sword Saint powerhouse. The two sides fought so hard that they stopped immediately when they saw them disappear into the river, and then they all got into the Luogui River. Their goals are all obsidian. Since the final outcome has not been determined before, it is good to see each other underwater. Ming Xiu and Lum Weian glanced at each other and exchanged expressions tacitly. You are recovering the injuries you just suffered in the formation, waiting for the arrival of the elders of the five sects. I will leave for a while, Ming Xiu said to the people in the formation, and he disappeared in place and plunged into the water. Lum Weian gave Jins a reassuring smile and jumped into the Luogui River without hesitation. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 375. At this time, the water of Luogui River was dark and dull, and a strange fragrance emerged from the river. As soon as Lum Weian entered the water, he was embraced by a warm body. Immediately, a golden UN force shield wrapped the two of them, and they continued to sink towards the bottom of the river. Let's go down now, or wait for them to fight first, Lum Weian looked up and asked. Ming Xiu kissed her forehead and said, come on, Shen Mufeng and Lan Si are the more difficult ones. Lum Weian's eyes darkened, and if Ming Xiu dared to say such a thing, there must be a way to deal with it. Okay. The two of them dived all the way to the bottom of the river, and the smell became stronger and stronger, and Lum Weian's eyes lit up. When the obsidian fluorite is born, the stronger the fragrance, the higher the quality, and the essence of fluorite may be born. Roar, a loud roar suddenly sounded from the bottom of the river, and the entire Luogui River and the surrounding mountains shook. The five disciples in the formation watched in horror as the mountains in the distance swayed constantly. Fortunately, the formation arranged by senior brother Qi can isolate the attack of the sound waves, otherwise we are afraid that we will all be injured, a female disciple of Tianji Palace said with admiration and fiery fear in her eyes. Brother Kai's formation skills are indeed powerful, Gu Xiu couldn't help but admire. This level of defense type formation is afraid that only the master level formation master can arrange it in the Beiji section. Has the formation of Ming Xiu reached this level? Brother Qi deserves to be the first genius who won the championship in the last 6 major sections. Such strength and talent really make me ashamed. Han Yi smiled bitterly. They were all people who had entered the sect at about the same time, but Qi Xiu had already left them a lot. Hey, many people sighed helplessly. Jin's enchanting face showed a bit of worry. I don't know what happened to junior sister Lu. This kind of coercion is difficult to resist with her sword sect cultivation. That junior sister Lu's accomplishments in the formation method are very unbelievable, and she is a 5th level formation master before she is 20 years old. Yao Zong's disciple sighed, and then said with a contradictory expression, but her temper is too impulsive, she rushes into Luogui River like this, and she doesn't know if she can come back alive. Genius has the capital to be arrogant, but junior sister Lu is a little arrogant, the disciple of the Imperial Beast sect said regretfully. Why should such a talent sacrifice his life for a spiritual thing that he can't get at all? The spirits at the bottom of the river and none of them are unmoved, but since the appearance of the sword saints of the demon race and the sea race, they can only put away the greed in their hearts, and they don't dare to think about it in such a level of battle. Spirits in the water. And even if there are no sword saints from the demon race and the sea race, the 9th order monster hidden in the river alone can destroy all of them, and they can only suppress the desire in their hearts. No matter how good things are, you have to live to enjoy them. I believe that junior sister Lu will be safe and sound. Gu Xiu looked at Luo Gaihe in a dark and unpredictable manner. That woman has created countless miracles in the competition space of the Tianling Continent tournament. With her cautious temperament, she is not sure that she will not go into the river. However, it is doomed to be miserable, but he also admires her courage. Jins nodded, I also think she will be fine. She always felt that Lum Weian's strength was only as simple as it appeared on the surface. Although the others believed that Lum Wen had a higher chance of dying, they didn't say much, and quietly observed the movements of Luo Gai He. Roar. From the bottom of the river, the roar of the monsters kept coming, and Lu Muyan but felt the stinging pain. Just as she was about to mobilize her mental power to form a dense net to protect her spiritual consciousness, Ming Xiu took out a small blue ball and melted it into the golden shield, instantly isolating the roar of the monster. You built a soundproof formation in this blue ball. Lu Wen used to be a high-level formation mage, and his eyes were naturally very vicious, and he could see the secret hidden in the blue ball at a glance. Ming Xiu's deep and dark eyes were full of surprise. He really underestimated this woman before, but he didn't expect that she would be able to see the ceiling formation with just a glance. Well, there are many magical uses for the formation. They should be facing the ninth order monster. Lu Wen felt a violent fight coming from below. Let's join in the fun too. Ming Xiu's thin lips raised an arc, and he quickly dived with Lu Wen. Lu Wen found that every time they dived for a distance, the resistance in the water would deepen a lot. When they were about to reach the bottom of the river, the Sword Saints and Sword Masters of the Sea Clan and Demon Clan were blocked by a layer of dark blue water. Outside, the men and horses on both sides had no intention of fighting at this time, and they slashed towards the water ring with magic weapons. Many people tried to continue to dive, but every time they entered the water ring, they couldn't help but float up by themselves. Seeing Ming Xiu and Lu Wen sneaking to their side, they watched the two of them defensively but didn't make a move, worried that one of them would make a sneak attack and the other would make a sneak attack. Most importantly, they concluded that the two could not sink under the water ring. The two ignored them and continued to dive. When entering the waist-high part of the dark blue water ring, Lu Wen felt a violent pressure squeeze towards her. The gravity of the water pressure is very strong. As the body dives a little bit, the pressure becomes stronger and stronger, and even breathing becomes difficult. Can you still stand it? Ming Xiu put his arms around Lu Wen and passed a voice transmission close to her ear. Lu Wen took a deep breath and replied, yes. Although the primordial force shield and formation of Ming Xiu have a defensive function, they cannot prevent this natural water pressure. Only people with strong bodies or special exercises cannot be crushed by the force generated by the water pressure. Shred. Thanks to the witch god art she practiced, her body is as powerful as a ninth order monster, otherwise she would have to stop at the deep blue water ring. It's no wonder that even the strong sword saints in the two teams were blocked from the outside. Although they were cultivated and powerful, their bodies were unable to resist the water pressure here. A little bit of diving, Ming Xiu sent a few infuriating breaths from her back from time to time, which relieved her originally squeezed and painful bones a lot. It's not that the cultivator doesn't want to block all the pressure for Lu Wen, but that the squeeze of the water pressure will be of great help to her future body training. This is actually a chance. After about another stick of incense, the two finally penetrated another layer of dark blue water ring and reached the bottom of the river. The scene after passing through the water ring is completely different from the above. All the water flows are isolated by the dark blue water ring, and there is a large space below. The ground is covered with icy blue gravel, and there is a transparent bottomless river next to the gravel. The two fell to the ground, and Ming Xiu led Lu Wen towards the end of the river, where there was a lot of battle fluctuations. After walking for a while, a dazzling light came from a cave. Lu Wen blocked his eyes and followed Ming Xiu in. When I opened my eyes, I saw that there was a huge ice pool in the cave. In the center of the ice pool was a gorgeous blue flower resembling a peony, surrounded by drops of ice blue water droplets with black silk in the middle. On top, in the center of the stamens lay a few dark blue spar with a circle of black liquid in the middle. At this time, Lan Si and Shen Mufeng were teaming up to fight a flood dragon, and the fight was inseparable. Xiaolong was injured by the sword energy of the two people in many places, but the two of them were also injured more or less. When all the petals are spread out, bursts of fragrance spread from the flowers in Tanzhong. The 4 people and 1 beast present immediately felt refreshed, and an inexplicable force penetrated into their bodies. The UN force in the body unconsciously and constantly flowed to form several big heavens, but after a while, a few people felt that their cultivation had risen. Lum Wen broke the bottleneck directly because of this airflow, and went directly from the high-level sword sect to the peak of the sword section. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 376. The strange fragrance in the cave space penetrated into their bodies with a stream of air currents, and when the strange fragrance dissipated, a few people got out of that comfortable state. You despicable human beings, this is the king's territory. If you don't get out of here, don't blame me for breaking the net. The red and white Jiaolong looked at a few people and spit out words with indifferent eyes. It's okay if you want us to leave, you can let us take the obsidian away, Shen Muofeng said with a sullen face. Don't even think about it. The flood dragon was furious and spit out countless ice cones at the 4 of them with a roar. Ming Xiu wielded his golden sword to block all the ice picks from the outside, and Shen Muofeng and Lan Si both showed a look of dread when they saw it. Lance, how long do you have to hide your strength? Shen Muofeng kept dodging the ice pick and continued, why don't we join forces to kill him and then grab the fluorite? This method is good, but the 2 little guys next to us most likely grabbed the obsidian while we were fighting. Lan Si glanced at Ming Xiu and Lum Wen and said. Lum Wen rolled his eyes, Lan Si, the fox, has a lot of heart. The 2 of you will deal with the Jiaolong with us. How about the fight for the obsidian fluorite later? Shen Muofeng looked at Ming Xiu and asked. At this time, they didn't trust anyone, and if they fought alone, they wouldn't necessarily be afraid of Jiaolong, but they were all afraid that the injury would give others the opportunity to take away the obsidian. I'll join forces with you, so she won't have to. Ming Xiu blocked Lum Wen and said to the 2. Okay, as long as you come with us. Shen Muofeng nodded. Although Lum Wen's strength is good, his cultivation is far worse than them. If he wants to forcibly snatch away Yao Yingxi, he can also kill her when she escapes. The only people they are afraid of are meditation. Ming Xiu didn't hesitate, just tapped his toes and greeted Jiaolong. The 3 occupy one side each, and they used various means to force Jiaolong to use his trump card. However, the 3 of them are all strong men with the same strength as Jiaolong, and the power under the combined force is simply not something that Jiaolong can resist. It didn't take long for the 3 of them to completely kill the Jiaolong here, but Shen Muofeng and Lan Si also spent a lot of energy and even got injured. When the 3 of them were fighting, Lum Wen threw a few spirit pets into the ice pool. The pool water here is good for you to quench your body and absorb it well. Yes, Master. Meow Meow, Shui and Bingji shouted happily in the pool. After Bingji delivered the medicinal pill to Lu's house, he flew to Luogui River to join Lum Wen 2 days ago, and thus got this opportunity. This ice pool is very useful to monsters, but it is of no use to humans, so Lum Wen walked to a stone and sat down with his chin pressed while watching the 3 of them kill the dragon. After Jiaolong was beheaded, the 3 of them retreated to one side and looked at each other defensively. Now we are fighting for the obsidian fluorite. Lan Si quickly took a few pills and looked at Ming Xiu and Shen Muofeng with a warm smile. Why don't we join forces to kill this kid? How about a showdown for the obsidian fluorite? Shen Muofeng turned his head to Lance and asked. Lance raised his eyebrows, his voice was like a spring breeze, okay. But there is an endless coolness in just one word. Ever since he met Lum Wen in Yanzhou Kingdom, he has become somewhat interested in her. Later, he also used the network to find out her performance in the Tianling Continent Hegemony competition, and even obtained a copy of the crystal ball image recorded by the reflection array method. As he got to know her better, his interest in her became stronger in his heart, and he even had the idea of taking it as his own. When I saw this mysterious man named Mingxiu holding her hand and entering here, there was also a tacit understanding between the two, which made him very unhappy. His temperament is indeed as gentle as jade, but his actions are extremely ruthless. It is the right choice to get rid of a rival in love like Mingxiu as soon as possible. Therefore, Shen Mufeng's proposal was right in his heart. After the two reached an agreement, Chi looked towards Mingxiu and was about to make a move, but Lu Muan, who was sitting lazily on the stone, ditched in front of Shen Mufeng. "Your opponent is me," she smiled like a flower, her eyes were clear and cold as she looked at Shen Mufeng. Shen Mufeng sneered, "Little beauty, just because you want to stop me. Don't you know if you try it?" Lu Muan raised her eyebrows. "I don't take pity on Xianxia. If you let me go now, I can spare your life." Shen Mufeng narrowed his eyes dangerously. "Then I don't want to thank you for your mercy," Lu Muan smiled sarcastically. "Unfortunately, I'm not interested in the devil's kindness. Little beauty's temperament is really hot, since you are obsessed with it, don't blame me for being cruel." A stern look flashed across Shen Mufeng's eyes. "Yan, go back and I'll deal with them," Mingxiu said softly to Lu Muan. Lu Muan turned her head and smiled at him, her eyes firm. "Mingxiu believes in me. She can never be the woman hiding behind Mingxiu. What she wants is to stand side by side, and she waits for his choice." Seeing the confidence and determination on Lu Muan's stunning little face, Mingxiu's heart felt like it was about to melt. His woman was so hot and bright. Okay, the woman he wants to be with all his life must stand with him and watch the scenery from a high place. She knows him just as he knows her. Lu Muan smiled happily and turned to face Shen Mufeng. "Let's fight." Lance held an extra silver sword in his hand, engraved with intricate circles of runes. Looking at the tacit interaction between the two, the discomfort in his heart deepened a little bit, and it became more and more unpleasant to see Mingxiu. As Lance's voice fell, the four quickly fought together. Lu Muan quickly formed the seal, and clusters of orange flames jumped out of her palm and turned into blossoming fire lotuses floating towards Shen Mufeng. Shen Mufeng knew that Lu Muan had spirit fire before, so he also took precautions, and he immediately took out a dark shield. The shield quickly and suddenly became larger, blocking all the Hualian that the spirit fire had turned into. "If you only have this method, you will surely die." Shen Mufeng held an extra cyan long sword, constantly injecting yuan force. Lu Muan sighed, "The gap between the cultivation bases is too large and it is really difficult to make up for it by means. Mo Yan, let's start." Mo Yan, who was standing on her shoulder, gave Shen Mufeng a cold look, and after a few gestures with her claws in mid-air, she disappeared into the space. Immediately, a blazing blue-black flame appeared in Lu Muan's dantian, and a violent force swept through his body. She quickly formed the seal and used a secret method to incorporate the power borrowed by Mo Yan into her own spiritual power. The pupils in Shen Mufeng's eyes shrank, and he found that Lu Muan's aura had gradually and completely changed, and his cultivation was constantly improving, until he was promoted to the first-level sword saint. He didn't know what method she used to improve her strength, but the faint sense of danger made him no longer hesitate. He swung his sword and slashed, and a sword chi burst out into the air and turned into a cyan tiger, opening its mouth and biting towards Lu Muan's neck. "My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant." Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 377. The fierce tiger transformed by Shen Mufeng's sword chi brought the unparalleled pressure of the king of the deep forest, and quickly sprang out of Lu Muan's neck and bit it a few inches after opening its mouth. There was no fear in Lu Muan's eyes. Clusters of blue-black flames appeared all over her body. She raised her hands slightly, and a mini-unicorn appeared. With fiery flames, the mini-unicorn waved its small paws and grabbed the tiger. Roar! The tiger was eroded by the energy contained in the flame, and let out a harsh roar. The sword chi of the demons will more or less carry the evil spirit, and the fire of the ghost is its nemesis. Netherworld fire, you can actually call Netherworld fire. Shen Mufeng's pupils kept shrinking. That white monster is a spirit-devouring beast. After Mo Yan's cultivation was improved, he completely concealed the spirit-devouring beast's aura, and even a sword god powerhouse would only regard him as a fire cloud sable. If it weren't for Mo Yan's disappearance, Lum Wan's cultivation level suddenly soared and he used the fire of the nether, and Shen Mufeng would not be able to find it. I know it's too late now, Lum Wan snorted coldly, her hands constantly forming seals. The runes with blue-black flames surrounded Shen Mufeng, and then she took out the refined black formation flag. Expand quickly. 9 nether killing formations following her soft drink, a few divine beasts condensed by nether fire suddenly appeared around Shen Mufeng. Qinglong, Beihu, Suzaku, and Suanwu stared at Shen Mufeng with icy eyes. The mini-unicorn suddenly became dozens of times bigger, swallowing all the sword energy that Shen Mufeng had excited at this time. You turned out to be a 6th level formation mage. Shen Mufeng looked at Lum Wan in shock. He never thought that this woman who was less than 20 years old would hide so deeply. This kind of formation and cultivation talent is a genius that is rare in the demon race field of the Guangling world. Lum Wan raised her eyebrows. Don't underestimate any opponent, this is a profound lesson I've taught you today. She knows that Shen Mufeng is not the main body at this time. In this interface, their projection clones/individuals will be suppressed by the power of the interface, and their cultivation base will not be able to display 1/10 of the main body. I didn't expect that you would be the first person to force me to use my trump card on this small interface. Shen Mufeng chuckled, and the UN force in his body quickly tore a seal open. In an instant, his figure became blurred, and when he reappeared, 2 more tentacles appeared on his head. His body was covered with a layer of black scales, and a pair of wings grew behind him, and even his hands and feet formed a region-like shape. Demonic claws. What is this? Lum Wan asked Jun Luokan in the pendant while controlling the formation with a seal. You don't know that demons can be demonized? This is his transformation after using the magic secret technique. His strength will be increased by half compared to before. The toughness of his body will hire the 9th order peak monster beasts. Be careful. Jun Luokan hugged his hands. Looking like a good show. Lum Wan frowned and asked, is there any weak point that can be attacked? He had heard Lance call Shen Mufeng the holy son of the demon race before, and as a former demon venerable, Jun Luokan should know how to break this secret technique. Why should I tell you about our weakness after demonization? Jun Luokan said irrefutably. It's a joke. If you tell this woman about her weakness after being demonized, she won't be able to turn the demon realm into chaos after she ascends to the Guangling realm. Lum Wan's eyes turned cold, but her voice was extremely flat. It seems that you want to taste the power of Netherworld fire yourself? Jun Luokan, I have a cooperative relationship with you, but you'd better not challenge my patience. The time between her and Mo Yan's secret technique is limited. If she fails to defeat and kill Shen Mufeng once the secret technique passes, she will be the one who will die. Jun Luokan choked. Don't forget that I am the demon lord of the demon race. If you leak this kind of secret, do you think I'm a fool? I want to remind you that you are a former demon venerable. Do you know if the holy son of the demon race across from you knows you? Lum Wan smiled sarcastically. You said that if he knew that the pendant on my body hides the former demon Zun, will he immediately blow himself up and die with you? You. Jun Luokan was furious, but he couldn't refute Lum Wan. The holy sons of the demon race are all geniuses and elites cultivated by the demon venerable, and will only obey the orders of the current demon venerable. If the holy son of the demon race knew that his main soul still existed in the human world, even if he could not kill him with all his might, he would send the news back to the upper realm. When the time comes, that person will personally lower his body, and his main soul will be destroyed. Eyes. His eyes are the weak point of the whole body. Jun Luokan's voice was a bit decadent. He was betrayed by his clan and people close to him. Thinking of this, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. There was irony on his lips. What if he leaked the secret like this? Suddenly, he was looking forward to the scene of Lum Wan running to the demon realm to stir up bloodshed in the future. If Lum Wan knew what Jun Luokan was thinking, she would definitely beat him up, making her sound like a troublemaker. Lan Si and Ming Xiu fought evenly, but they never thought that Lum Wan not only merged with the power of the demon pet, but also forced Shen Mufeng to demonize. Will I be afraid of you if I become demonized? Lum Wan looked at Shen Mufeng, whose eyes were scarlet, while waiting for an opportunity to attack his eyes. Shen Mufeng laughed loudly, fluttered his wings and fell behind Lum Wan. A sharp claw grabbed it. Be careful. Ming Xiu's attention was mostly on Lum Wan, and upon seeing this, he would move over to rescue him. Lan stood in front of him and said, "Don't interfere in their battle." It was naturally impossible for him to watch Lum Wan killed by Shen Mufeng, but he wanted to see the limits of this woman. Lum Wan's mental strength is very strong. She found out Shen Mufeng as soon as she got behind her. She quickly moved Shunbu to avoid the grab, but she was also caught in the storm and flew out. Her physical strength can only barely reach the 9th order monster beast. Before, she borrowed the witch god tactic to offset part of the pressure in the water ring, but at this time Shen Mufeng is the 9th order peak monster body strength. Can't get through. And Shen Mufeng's speed after demonization was too fast, even surpassing her Shunpo. Ming Xiu, I will kill him. Lum Wan's firm voice sounded in Ming Xiu's sea of consciousness. Ming Xiu's deep eyes overflowed with distress, and he closed his eyes. Okay. But if you haven't killed him after your secret technique disappears, I will take action. Ming Xiu exuded an endless coldness all over his body, venting all the irritability in his heart to Lance. The two people who were originally close to each other opened the distance in an instant. Lance's blue eyes were full of killing intent, no longer holding hands, and quickly met the crazy attack of Ming Xiu. On the other side, Shen Mufeng kept attacking Lum Wan with sharp claws, and she would be injured every time she made a shot. However, Shen Mufeng was not feeling well. Lum Wan's 9 nether killing formation was already a 6th order killing formation, and every time the 4-symptom mythical beast roared out of the formation, his magical power would weaken a bit. But unless the UN energy in his body is exhausted, he can always maintain the demonization, and the secret method of Lum Wan forcibly improving his cultivation has a time limit. He can kill it as long as he waits for time. Shen Mufeng has his own strategy, and Lum Wan is also waiting for a while. Suddenly, Shen Mufeng grabbed Lum Wan from the front and pierced her shoulder. When he was about to tear her body apart, he saw a faint smile on Lum Wan's lips. An ominous feeling rose in his heart. Not good, there was something wrong with her. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 378. The feeling of Shen Mufeng's sharp claws penetrating his shoulders was not pleasant, but Lum Wan deliberately brought him into the game. Just when Shen Mufeng had a bad premonition and mobilized the UN force in her body to kill Lum Wan, she broke out. The mini-unicorn beast and the 4-symptom mythical beast rushed towards Shen Mufeng with blue-black flames, and more than a dozen slender golden needles drilled out of Lum Wan's body and stabbed Shen Mufeng with the formation. Shen Mufeng's scarlet eyes were full of tyranny. One hand stretched back from Lum Wan's shoulder and grabbed towards her heart, one hand waving the long sword, brewing layers of sword chi storm. The fire body condensed by the 4 divine beasts was crushed. Just when he was distracted, Lum Wan endured the pain in his shoulder, and his mental power formed 2 hurricanes that hit Shen Mufeng's eyes. Shen Mufeng was not at all aware that Lum Wan would use his mental power to raid his eyes at close range. Under the destruction of the mental power hurricane, his sea of consciousness was in a mess, and his headache seemed to explode. Ah, he screamed a few times while holding his head in his hands. Under the control of Lum Wan's mind, more than a dozen golden needles bounced back by the sword. She shot a few arrows in mid-air to stabilize their figure, and then stabbed them towards Shen Mufeng. The blurred unicorn condensed by the nether fire raised its head and roared, roaring, and got into Shen Mufeng's back. After the mental power hurricane dissipated, Shen Mufeng regained clarity, but it was too late. The battle between the strong, even just a breath or two of distraction will change the situation of the battle. The internal organs were burned together by the blurred unicorn, the tentacles on the head and the black scales on the body gradually dissipated, and the demonization was lifted. He roared unwillingly. He wanted to use another hole card but found that he couldn't move. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Lum Wan in horror but couldn't ask a word. Lum Wan smiled while covering her stabbed shoulder. My golden needle is quenched with a poison that can paralyze people's bodies. You will surely die today. The scarlet color in Shen Mufeng's eyes is even worse, not caused by demonization, but completely angry. Only now did he realize that when he fought against this woman just now, he fell into the trap she designed step by step. Although it was a hostile relationship, he couldn't help but admire her temperament and wit, being ruthless to others and even more ruthless to himself. In dozens of rounds of battles, Lum Wan was shocked by him every time, and the danger of being stabbed in the shoulder by him, and the danger that he might even seriously injure his internal organs led him to approach, just for this fatal blow. And she was very successful in bringing him into the game. He didn't expect her to attack his only weakness after being demonized. His consciousness began to fade, but there was always a question lingering in his heart. Did she just accidentally attack her eyes, or did she already know the weakness of the demons after demonization? How could you attack my eyes before dying? Shen Mufeng asked his doubts with his mouth. Lum Wan smiled, lowered his head to his ear, and said with a stern look in his eyes, because I hate when people look at me with scarlet eyes, I can't help but want to destroy them, so don't use them when fighting in the future. Those eyes looking at other people. Shen Mufeng, you should actually thank me. I taught you a deep lesson today. She wouldn't explain too much, otherwise Shen Mufeng would definitely suspect that she knew the weakness of the demons after the demonization, and he would think that her attack was an unexpected move. Naturally, it is impossible for her to admit that she knows the weakness of the demons after demonization, otherwise the trouble will be big. The corner of Shen Mufeng's mouth twitched, because of the color of his eyes. He used himself to lead him into the game to kill. This woman is a lunatic. But she was completely relieved, because she didn't know his weakness after demonization. Thinking about it, he was completely frightened by himself before, let alone a human swordsman of the lower interface. Even those powerful people in the Guangling realm didn't know the hidden weaknesses of their demons after demonization. He closed his eyes, his breath gradually disappeared, and he used the last UN energy accumulated in his Danshan to send out a spiritual sound wave resounding through the cave. Is that Lum Wan? This seat remembers you. When you ascend to the Guangling realm in the future, this seat will definitely repay your revenge for killing yourself and stealing treasures. When Shen Mufeng's breath disappeared, in a palace in the demon realm of the Guangling realm, a man who looked exactly like Shen Mufeng but had a completely different aura suddenly opened his eyes. At this moment, there was a scarlet color in his eyes, and a cruel arc was drawn around his lips, and he said silently, Lum Wan, you don't like scarlet eyes, do you? In the future, this seed will definitely imprison you and have a good taste of what it is like to burn your body in flames and look at this seed's scarlet eyes every day. Lum Wan burned his inner belly with the fire of the nether, poisoned him with poison needles, and destroyed his sea of consciousness with the storm of spiritual power. The most important thing was to destroy his plan to hide in that small interface, and he missed out with the obsidian fluorite. Even if it is just a projection clone/body, when has he suffered such humiliation as the genius son of the demon race? Lum Wan, you must live well and ascend to the Guangling world. This seat is waiting for you. The anger in his chest had nowhere to vent, and finally raised his head and roared a few times, and all the furnishings in the entire palace room were shattered into powder. And in his roaring voice just repeated a name, Lu Muan. After Shen Mufeng died, Lu Muan's secret technique faded away. She sat on the ground gasping for breath, her body was weak, and Mo Yan's figure fell to the ground. Mo Yan, it seems that I have forged a great enemy before I ascended to the Guangling realm. Lu Muan smiled helplessly. From the mental sound waves condensed by Shen Mufeng just now, he heard infinite resentment, and that man will definitely not let it go. Mo Yan looked at her collapsed and injured appearance, with a hint of distress hidden in her eyes, and said indifferently, "You could challenge Lance at that time." Lan Si, who was fighting with Ming Xiu, glanced at Lu Muan strangely when he heard these words, and wondered if she was reluctant to kill him. And he was destined to be disappointed, because Lu Muan's next reply almost didn't make him vomit blood. "There's no way. Shen Mufeng represents the contribution value of 100,000 sections. What's the benefit of killing Lan Si?" Lu Muan gave Mo Yan a white look. She took the initiative to challenge Shen Mufeng in order to help Ming Xiu share some of the pressure, and secondly, she went to contribute to the 100,000 sects. Such a big pie fell from the sky, even if she had to bear the consequences of being chased and killed by Shen Mufeng in the future, she had to take it. Blue was completely speechless. It turned out that his life was worthless in the eyes of this woman. This woman is still the same as she used to be, to make such a ruthless move in order to break the contribution value. But the more ruthless and cunning she is, the more he likes it. He must get this woman. Ming Xiu felt a chill in his heart when he saw that Lan Si's eyes showed a certain stubborn madness towards Lu Muan. He opened the seal in his body, and Yuan force spurted out instantly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world. BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 379. At this time, Ming Xiu's entire figure was plated with a layer of golden light, and the majestic Yuan force rushed to his dantian. Lan Si came back to his senses, only to see Ming Xiu's killing intent, and his eyes were full of incredulity. Who is this man, and how can he seal such a powerful force? Such power is not something that this interface can possess at all. Could this man also come from the Guangling world? But Lans can conclude that Ming Xiu is different from him and Shen Mufeng. They are projection clones, and Ming Xiu is definitely the main body. But if the main body comes to this interface, it will inevitably be repelled by the power of the interface's rules. What is his identity? A golden sword light swept across, and Lans's eyes narrowed, and he slammed a palm at the sword light, and clusters of blue flames drilled out of his body to form a shield. The sword chi swept across the shield, and the shield formed by the spirit fire was torn in half, but it also offset 90% of the sword chi power. The rest of the sword chi was resisted by Lan Si Kankan, but he felt chi and blood surging in his body. Who the hell are you? He looked at Ming Xiu with a gloomy expression. Ming Xiu's eyes were full of coldness. You talk too much. Immediately, he poured Yuan Li into the golden giant sword in his hand, ready for the second strike. Lance's heart was gloomy. He glanced at the obsidian fluorite, gritted his teeth and made a decision. He took out a talisman to activate it, and a huge blue water curtain suddenly appeared in front of him, and he walked in without hesitation. With the power of his clone/body being suppressed by the interface, he is not a cultivator who has unlocked the seal and gained a huge power. A huge sword energy erupted from Ming Xiu's body, like a killing god. The golden giant sword slashed through the water curtain, and instantly severely injured Lance, who had already drilled into it. A mouthful of blood spurted out of the water curtain, and Lance turned his head to look at Ming Xiu fiercely. This sword's revenge will be avenged by this king in the future. Ming Xiu smiled indifferently, his thin lips opened slightly, and he said to Lance with his mouth, the woman who covets the emperor, you are still a little tender, the emperor is waiting for you to take revenge at any time. Lancy's pupils shrank slightly, and as the entire light curtain faded, he also disappeared in this space. After Lan's eye was teleported by the power of the talisman, Ming Xiu immediately walked to Lum Wan and squatted down. He pursed his lips tightly with a worried expression, quickly took out a bottle of medicinal liquid and poured it on Lum Wan's shoulder wound, and took out a 4th-grade qi nourishing pill for her to take. Seeing Ming Xiu's cold face, Lum Wan could also guess why he was angry. She pulled his sleeve with a pitiful look, "My shoulder hurts so much." Ming Xiu saw that her face was pale, and she rarely showed a sense of weakness, her beautiful eyes were watery, and she looked at him with a coquettish expression. All his anger disappeared immediately. "You are such a daring woman." Ming Xiu carefully hugged her in his arms in distress, and stroked her back with his big hands, continuously conveying the energy of true essence. Lum Wan pouted and said, "I don't have it." "Don't you have it yet?" Ming Xiu tapped the tip of her nose with his finger, with helpless pampering in his deep eyes. "Just tell me what you want to exchange your contribution points for, and I will find a way to help." "You got it, why risk your life to kill Shen Mufeng? What you got for me is not the same as the sense of achievement I got myself." Lum Wan blinked her eyes and said. "Ming Xiu is the hall master of the 9 Layers Hall, and there is the entire Ming Union Chamber of Commerce behind him. It is true that what he wants is rarely found." But she didn't lie either. The 100,000 sect contribution points she got from killing Shen Mufeng and Mingxiu helping her find things were completely two things. She didn't want to rely too much on him. She needs independent space to grow up, she will use him as her support, but it will not be her everything. Ming Xiu sighed, he knew Lum Wan's temper from the moment he fell in love with her. She is tenacious and confident, with her own pride and persistence. He likes her and will naturally follow her heart, even if he really wants to protect what she has under his wings, so that she can be carefree. Actually, there's nothing wrong with getting a little injury. Lum Wan buried her head in Ming Xiu's neck. "During the battle with Shen Mufeng, I found that the strength and speed of my body are far behind him, and I need to improve it. There is a lot of space, and I also realized something. If she hadn't borrowed Mo Yan's power, she wouldn't be able to kill Shen Mufeng at all. Maybe she was escaping with secret techniques at this time. Although her shoulder was seriously injured, she gained even more. Not only did she kill Shen Mufeng to exchange for the 100,000 sect points system, but she also felt a touch of wind element in the battle with him. Maybe the wind element in her body could be inspired by this. Maybe. Well, but don't work so hard in the future." Ming Xiu also knew that the battle of life and death was the best way to enhance the potential of a swordsman, but looking at her bloody wound, his previous heart was aching. "Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. If I couldn't beat Shen Mufeng, I would have asked you to help." Lum Wan raised her eyebrows and smiled, like a snarling little fox. Ming Xiu kissed her forehead and hugged her tighter. "In the future, you have to be careful with the people of the demon clan. Shen Mufeng is one of the most respected sons of the demons in the demon domain. You killed him and destroyed his competition for Yao. He wouldn't just let it go with Eva's plan." He lowered his head, and there was a layer of frost in the bottom of his eyes. "Sooner or later, Shen Mufeng will find him to settle the account of his woman's injury. If Lum Wan didn't let him help, he would have to smash Shen Mufeng's corpse into 10,000 pieces and extract his soul. Well, I will." Lum Wan knew that she had indeed provoked a great existence this time, but she didn't take it to heart. In the last life, she also provokes very good existences from all parties in the spiritual world, but in the end, because of various pursuits and killings, she has been motivated to continuously pursue the Dao and improve her cultivation. Recover well. After sending the last breath of true essence into Lum Wan's body, Ming Xiu let go of her. Lum Wan nodded with a smile, and began to close his eyes to recover from the injury. He also used the true qi of Ming Xiu to stabilize the peak of sword sex cultivation. She covered the green mist from the dantian along the meridian and covered the wound a little bit for recuperation. The green mist's repairing ability is very powerful, and it only took half a day for the wound on her shoulder that went deep into the bones to heal gradually. Of course, the quick recovery of the wound is inseparable from the medicine that Ming Xiu dripped on her shoulder. After she recovered a lot from her injuries, as soon as she opened her eyes, she met Ming Xiu's eyes that were as bright as the bright stars in the vast starry sky. "Let's put away the obsidian first," Lum Wan said with a smile. "Calculate the time, the elders of the 5 major sects may be coming soon." The speed of the Sword Saint powerhouses is naturally very different from the flying instruments they take on their missions. The elders who are not far from here should be able to reach the Luogui River in a day. It is good. My evil imperial wife is too arrogant, trash against the world, BlackBelly evil wife is too arrogant. Author, Lan by Gezi. Chapter 380. All the obsidian fluorites were born, and a fragrant fragrance lingered on the nose of the two of them. Lum Wan's several spiritual pets also absorbed the power in the ice pool almost at this time. "I didn't expect our luck to be so good, and the fluorite actually gave birth to the essence of fluorite." Lum Wan smiled at the few spar in the stamen. Ming Xiu nodded, "Yes. Last time we got the extremely cold golden marrow together, and this time we discovered the fluorite essence, which shows that our luck is good. It's still the old rule, let's divide it by half," Lum Wan said with a smile. "I only use the fluorite essence for refining one magic weapon. You can put away the other obsidian fluorites." Ming Xiu has been looking for a material for refining a water attribute magic weapon, but he didn't expect this opportunity. It happened by coincidence. "Do you want Bai Jialong's corpse and Shen Mufeng's space ring?" Lum Wan asked, scanning the corpse beside him. "No, you put it all away." Lum Wan knew that this fellow was so rich that he was not polite, so he divided the fluorite essence into half, and then put it away together with the spar peony that contained the obsidian fluorite. Ming Xiu took the fluorite essence and put it away, thinking about it and asking, "Can you also perceive the water element?" "Well, I'm going to use these fluorite essences to refine a natal magic weapon." Lum Wan did not hide it from Ming Xiu. Ming Xiu's eyes were a little bit different. He didn't expect Lum Wan's talent to be so defiant, but when he remembered his multiple attributes, he was indifferent, so they are a good match, right? If you use the essence of fluorite to refine the natal magic weapon, it is best to join the heavy water to sacrifice and refine together, and the power will be even higher. After Ming Xiu finished speaking, he flipped his hand, and there were 2 more colorless and transparent stones in his palm. "This is a secluded meteorite. When you refine it, you can add some to randomly activate some of the hidden attribute functions of the magic weapon." "Then I'm welcome." Lum Wan knew about you meteorite. "This thing can be regarded as an earth-level spiritual item. It is very rare. Function will be more powerful. By the way, do you know where you can find heavy water in Tianling continent?" Lum Wan asked after a while. Heavy water is a kind of spiritual object extracted by high-level swordsmen who have realized the great perfection of the water element. It is the best choice for refining magic tools. Although Ming Xiu can also perceive the element of water attribute, he has only reached the Dachan realm and cannot make heavy water. In this interface, he has never met a swordsman who comprehends the great perfection of the water attribute. He frowned, and after a while, his eyes lit up and he said, "You have a piece of heavy water in your Beiji section. After you are promoted to inner sect disciples, each sect will have a separate spiritual item exchanged for jade slips and issued. I remember. Heavy water is in it. Then I can just use the contribution points to exchange for the quest for the killing order to exchange." Lum Wan smiled happily. She is not worried about being promoted to the inner sect disciple. Whether it is a professional technique competition or a direct battle, she is 100% sure that she will be able to enter the inner sect. The opening of the land of inheritance has been delayed. You can use this gap to improve your strength. It just so happens that the selection competition for inner disciples between the various sects is about to start, Ming Xiu said. Lum Wen nodded. How long will the inheritance land be opened? It will take a year at the earliest. I think it will be after the Zongmen Grand Competition. Ming Xiu believed that Lum Wen would shine brightly again during the Zongmen Grand Competition. Lum Wen rubbed her chin and asked, is there any benefit to Zongmen Dabi? She remembered that the 6 major sects held a competition between the sects every 3 years. They were all competitions between the new disciples of the inner section. Aorong once mentioned that she hoped that she could participate in the formation competition at that time. There are many benefits. If you win the championship of each event, you will not only get the rewards of the 6 sects, but also the rewards after returning to the sections. Ming Xiu paused and emphasized, the most important thing is that the top 3 of the Zongmen Grand Competition have the opportunity to go to the Shenqingqi to wash the marrow and shape the body and wash the soul, which is several times or even 10 times better than the effect of medicine pills. You must not miss it. Okay, since there are so many benefits, I will naturally strive to participate. Lum Wan's eyebrows are curved, and she must go to the place where the meditation can be so praised. Ming Xiu was touched by her smile, and an arc was raised on his lips. The geniuses and elites of the inner sects of each sect have the ability to challenge higher levels, especially when it comes to specialized techniques. Each sect hides it. With a peerless genius waiting for a blockbuster, you have to pay attention. It's more interesting, isn't it? Lum Wan's eyes lit up, and he meant to participate only if he had a challenge. Ming Xiu took her into his arms and sniffed the fragrance of her hair. It will take a while for us to meet again, this time apart. And Lum Wan snorted and put his arms around Ming Xiu's waist. The two of them hugged in such a quiet way and enjoyed the rare tranquility and warmth. An hour later, the two left the cave at the bottom of the river, and when they floated to the deep blue water ring, they looked up and saw the strong men of the demon race and the sea race still anxiously trying to dive above. What should we do? Lum Wan looked at Ming Xiu and asked, have you killed it? No, they'll leave it to the elders of the 5 sects to get it done. Ming Xiu's deep eyes flashed a cunning look. We don't want to expose the fact that we got the obsidian. You didn't mean to only recover half of the injury. Is it? We will be able to wash it out when we make a fuss. Lum Wan was also prepared to resolutely refuse to admit to seeing the spirits at the bottom of the river. Otherwise, if the powerhouses of the 6 sects knew that they had fluorite in their hands, they would probably use various means to exchange them. But they're stuck on it. How can we get out? Lum Wan didn't want to fight with the powerhouses on both sides now. Ming Xiu curled the corners of his lips and said with a smile, leave it to me. When his mind moved, a purple light suddenly burst out from between his eyebrows, and immediately turned into a cold and handsome man in purple clothes. The man exuded a powerful aura that seemed to come from ancient times, and he couldn't see through his cultivation. Dragon Clan Demon Cultivator, Lum Wan looked at the man who suddenly appeared, and whispered in a trance. The man stared sharply at Lum Wan, as if scrutinizing. Then he said to Ming Xiu, you have a good eye for choosing a woman. There are a lot of secrets in this woman, and even I can't see through it. Her talent is much more unflinching than yours, which is against the sky. My woman is naturally the best, Ming Xiu replied confidently and cheerfully. After a while, the man in purple asked Ming Xiu, why did you call me out? Ming Xiu pointed to the top and replied with a smile, I asked you to come out and lead the people above away. The man in purple frowned, and there was a bit of disgust in his eyes. Do you want me to transform into that Sea Clan swordsman to lure them away? This man Ming Xiu is definitely not a good bird. Let him turn into Lance and run out. Shen Mufeng's death and the ownership of the obsidian can naturally be pushed to Lance. Lance CK was not dead yet. When Shen Mufeng was found dead, those demon races would never give up, and it was very possible for them to go to the sea race to assassinate them. At that time, when the news that Luminite was taken away by Lance is released, Ming Xiu and Lum Wan will find the person behind the back. This is typical of the rhythm of killing a rival in love.